We do this about every couple weeks. For those who have been listening for a while, if you hear, you're like on the other side, I know that you guys are hearing how hyped up I am. And I got to say that it's Tyler that has this special drop for you. Because I don't know what it is, except I know that it is time for Tyler's Top 10. Woo! I'm all excited. Tyler, you see me excited? I know that they can't see me because you're on the podcast, you're listening in. You're over at the gym. Well, you're not at the gym. If you're at the gym, you're in some other country. You're probably working out on your couch. You're probably taking a run. You're listening to the For Real podcast, and you're hearing this right now. I'm telling you that I'm excited for Tyler's Top 10, the Alternative Reality Films Edition. Tyler, what you got for us, Ty?
So Greg and I kind of were talking, with Tenet coming off the release schedule, what are some movies that are kind of like that people could watch to kind of fill that void that Tenet is leaving. And it's really easy for me to name movies like The Matrix, Donnie Darko, Terminator, Groundhog Day, even Christopher Nolan's own movie Inception. And I guess these could be considered my honorable mentions, even though The Matrix is one of my favorite movies. But I kind of want to shed some light on some more underseen gems. And, there are a couple well-known movies sprinkled in here, not as well-known as those potentially, but the majority of these are smaller films that I hope people search out and watch.
Fantastic. So shamalama ding dong. So Tyler wrote for me to say. We're going to get into it, guys. It's about to go down. Tyler, so did you do that? Was that the honorable mention? Now, mind you guys, I do not know what's happening right now, right? So I told Tyler, me and Tyler, we had a little discussion, right? We had a little talk. We talked about it for about 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. And now Tyler said, I got a list for you. I got a list for you. Greg, I hope that you're ready for this list. I'm so excited. I'm dropping my pen and stuff. But I do not know what's on this list. I don't know the honorable mentions. I don't even know the movies that he's going to bring forward to you. So in real time.
I hope you know the honorable mentions. I just said what they were. They were all the bigger movies that could have been on this list. So that I'm choosing to not include.
So you see, like that, I didn't even know that till Tyler just brought that forward to me. Now, I thought, like, when he said that this could be my honorable mentions, I was like, all right, it could be. So what's the honorable mentions? Guys, I am experiencing this as you're experiencing it. So I hope that this goes down well. I hope you guys have a good time. Tyler, tell us what your number 10 is.
So number 10 is going to be a film called Idiocracy. It was Mike Judge's follow-up to Office Space. And, I mean, he must have been looking in a crystal ball for this one. It's a alternative reality satire about this guy named Joe who gets involved in a military experiment that goes awry, and he ends up frozen for 500 years, and he wakes up in a future to find that he is now the smartest man alive thanks to people's average intelligence having plummeted and being so low in this kind of corporation-dominated world. The president is played by Terry Crews. His character is named Dwayne Elizondo Mountain Dew Herbert Camacho. And he's unfortunately very similar to what our current situation is. So the movie was funny at the time, but now it's just kind of like, whew, what? why was this the one that kind of came close to coming true? But it is what it is, and this is my number 10.
Next up, we've got our number 9.
So this one's a little more well known. Number 9 is Arrival. Personally, it kind of still upsets me that Amy Adams wasn't nominated for an Oscar for this. Mm-hmm. But the movie, it's about these aliens that come to Earth, and a team led by Adams and Jeremy Renner are sent to make contact to kind of discover their intentions and learn basically this alien language and learn the power of communication, the power of language, and how it kind of brings everybody together. It's a very, very well written script, with an ending that in lesser capable hands of the director, who is Denis Villeneuve, probably would have crumbled and not worked. And it's on this list because, let's just say, things aren't kind of what they seem time-wise.
Number 8.
Number 8, it's this indie movie called The One I Love. It's about a couple played by Elizabeth Moss and Mark Duplass, who are hoping to try to save their marriage. They take a weekend retreat, and things get kind of weird. That's all I'm gonna say. It's best left kind of discovered what happens during this movie. But this was one of the first movies where I really began to take notice of how talented Elizabeth Moss is. I didn't watch Mad Men, so this, I kind of caught up to her career through movies. But this is a very clever, low-budget sci-fi film, and it's kind of a really effective story about this couple, and there are definitely some good surprises in this one.
Interesting. I had never heard of this one before. Can't wait to go. Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see if I go watch it. I doubt that I'll even find it unless Tyler sends me a link. Number 7.
This is the most recent movie for this list, Palm Springs. It's a really, really fun take on Groundhog Day. It's available on Hulu right now. This movie is. I don't know where Groundhog Day is. But Kristen Milioti and Andy Samberg are delightful in this movie. I usually lose my patience with rom-coms. I kind of find a lot of them ring false and feel too convoluted for their own good. But this one is done very, very well, and they just have an amazing chemistry, and I kind of fell in love with this movie. I think I've watched it like 3 or 4 times now.
But we're not going back, we're going forward, and we're going to number 6.
Number 6 is another indie. It's called The Final Girls. So this one kind of caught me off guard. I thought it was kind of going to be dumb when I watched it, but a friend convinced me to watch it, and I thank him for that. So it's about this girl, Max. 3 years previous, her mother died, and she's still kind of grieving when this movie picks up. And she and her friends are at the movies, and they end up having to escape from a fire and run through the movie screen, and they end up in this movie called Camp Bloodbath, which is an 80s slasher that starred her mom. And as she and her friends begin to interact with the characters, they begin to change the narrative of the film. And it gives her an opportunity to spend more time with her mom. And, the movie's really, really well written. It really effectively plays with slasher tropes. And the director actually ended up going on to direct Isn't It Romantic?, which I also quite liked, despite my qualms about romantic comedies. But yeah, I think that this is a really cool concept, and it's done very, very well.
Should probably go watch that as we get ready for number 5.
Number 5 is Primer, and my head just really hurts thinking about this movie. It was the directorial debut of Shane Carruth, who has only directed one more movie since this and has since given up on Hollywood. But it's about these 2 guys that are on the brink of this huge scientific discovery. What it is, I still don't think I could tell you. I watched this movie 3 times in a row when I first saw this, and I still didn't really understand what happened, why it happened. It's not very... It doesn't dumb things down for the audience at all. They have a lot of scientific jargon, but it's still very, very good, and it makes it rewatchable because you pick up new things every time you watch it. It's still a really, really good movie, and though don't think I could really explain to you what happened in it.
Let me tell you what we're gonna get on the first try. Our number 4.
Number 4 is Enemy. Denis Villeneuve makes another appearance on this list. He shot this in between Prisoners and Sicario, and the film stars Jake Gyllenhaal as a college professor who one night he's watching this movie and discovers an actor who looks exactly like him, and he becomes obsessed with tracking him down and thinks that this guy may be his doppelganger. It's a fantastic mystery and has one of my favorite final shots in a movie ever.
We gotta go for number 3.
Number 3 is 12 Monkeys. I watched this movie a lot in high school and college, and it was one of my favorite movies for a really, really long time. So the plot is basically after this world has been devastated by this terrible disease, Bruce Willis is sent back in time to find the cause and stop it. And you start to see his impact on history and as he goes in and out trying to find the source. It's very uniquely filmed and directed by Terry Gilliam, and Brad Pitt's in this as well. And he was Oscar nominated for his performance as Jeffrey Goins, and it's just insane. Brad Pitt is legitimately nuts in this movie. It's one of my favorite Brad Pitt performances, probably outside of Fight Club.
Number 2.
Number 2 is Looper. It's a Rian Johnson directed sci-fi film, and this is I love Rian Johnson. I don't think I've been very shy about saying that, and I think that his movies just keep getting better and better and better, which is impressive because he started out with a movie like Brick, which was just an amazing debut. Anyway, this was again one of my favorite movies of his before Last Jedi replaced it, and then Knives Out replaced that as well as my favorite films. Joseph Gordon-Levitt stars. He plays this character named Joe, who's a looper who he's in the past, and people from the future send him live people that need to be killed. It's like a way of disposing the body. You send them back to the past, and someone there kills him and disposes the body. They'll never be found again. So one day he finds himself face to face with his older self, and what follows is this chase to find out what his older self wants, what he's going back in time for. Like this, a lot of these movies, it's best to not really know what's going on before you start to watch it, but the third act is amazing, and it's some great science fiction.
That's fantastic, dude. And this movie, I'm just dropping little facts on you guys while we do the top 10. You know what I'm saying? But this one made $176 million in the box office off a $30 million budget. So I mean, Tyler's got some legitimate for the artistic side, but also on the money side, it is, a lot of people thinking the same thing, man. It's high up on the list. I'm actually really surprised that this was so high on the list, seeing that it was a little bit more well known than some of the other films on the list, other than Arrival. I mean, the Arrival made mad money, but this was a good one. I did see it. Tyler, you on point, especially as we're gonna be on point to our number 1.
So number 1, to completely jump from Greg's point about a well-known movie, I'm going to jump to a little-known one. It's called Coherence. I don't know if I've talked about this on this podcast before. Kind of like another movie that I like to bring up on this show, The Invitation. It's set at a party among friends, but after a sudden blackout, weird things start happening. And I'm trying to stay as cryptic as possible because one of the delights of this movie is discovering what is actually going along with these characters. A lot of the dialogue is improvised. They just had the situations lined out, and a lot of the actors just improvised to get to that point, which makes it all the more amazing that this kind of indie gem, it has such impressive storytelling and direction everything about it is so good, and it's confusing without being too confusing, if that makes sense. But let me just say, when the lights go out, buckle up.
Oh, wow. I've never heard of this film before. When it got released back in 2014, it got released only in New York. Um, and you're right. The guys, I hope that you're like. I want to bring in some of this information as well. Tyler's number one, Coherence, had a budget of $50,000.
And
So,
you'll be amazed at what they do with that.
dude, the storytelling comes in all shapes and forms, and that sounds amazing. I'm interested. You guys know me. Last week I talked all about the money. That, like, the story behind that, I really want to. Now I want to watch this movie just to see, like, what did they do with such a small price tag on the film production. This looks, Tyler, this is probably your best top 10 yet. This is
Oh, thank
probably your
you.
best top 10, the alternative reality films top 10. And this is all in respect to Tenet.